Hello and welcome to Rick's RC Flying Channel. This is episode 18 of the Giant Sweet and Low build. In this short video, we're just going to take a look at now as we get into the final assembly stages of the airplane. In this video, we'll just take a look on the tail being hooked up with the push rods, rudder cables, and tail wheel, and kind of have a look at how that came together. We'll look at what the servo installation looks like, and also the aileron servo. So let's get started. So now I'm installing the aileron servos, and on one of my earlier videos I show how I install a plastic tube in here, which makes the installation so easy because it just slides effortlessly through that tube. And of course I use Loctite to put the bolts in. So the aileron servos have been mounted in the wing, and then I took a 1/16 inch drill bit and I basically positioned these servo panels, the covers here, to accommodate the proper spacing for the servo arm. And then what I did, I also took a pencil and I marked the cutout position and plotted the servo cover, and I taped it, and then I took a 1/16 inch drill and very carefully drill the holes. And when I drill the holes, make sure you put pressure down so you don't get any shavings under the panel, and then you just blow the shavings away as you drill through, and just take your time. And then I used number 2 3/8 of an inch button head screws, and then just simply screwed them in. If you ever, what a good thing always to do is just test your your screwdriver. If you find that it's slipping in the button head, it's because it's worn out. Simply grind this off and then screw them carefully in. So we've got a really nice connection. There's virtually zero play in the flight control. And as a matter of fact, the fuselage flight controls are the same. There's just literally no play. And we have very nice, clean, smooth, quiet movement with the flight controls. So that all kind of worked out nice. So the wing is basically finished, except I do have to put some trim markings on it, which is basically, I think for now, I'm planning on putting the white band here with a German marking on there to basically emulate that it's an Endecker. So that's where we're at with the wing. So now it's time to install all the various pieces of hardware. And so these control horns, which have 440 bolts, which are threaded into hardwood. And I need to clean the holes out because of epoxy resin and paint residue. And what I highly recommend is, I personally would never use an electric type drill to clean these out. And the other thing I do is, like, I make these up myself. I have all different kinds of common sizes I use, and simply epoxy a drill bit into a piece of doweling. And that allows me to very carefully clean out a hole, or for that matter, make a hole. And I control the speed I'm doing it at. And the other thing is, in this particular case, I've put a wheel collar here as a depth gauge, because it's imperative that I don't trust myself as I'm trying to judge how far to go down, that I don't go actually through the flight control. So with this, I can go in here and safely clean out the hole, or even drill a hole out to the proper depth. So something to keep in mind. So now I'm just going to put this on. And then, of course, I've used a little piece of fuel tubing just as a safety keeper here. And I'll make the final adjustments a little bit later on. So anyways, that's the other thing I do more times than not is I put some kind of protective sheathing down wherever I'm working, because obviously at this stage we've got the final finish on. We don't want to do anything that could possibly damage the surface. So anyways, there we have one flight control on here. And yeah, I'll start doing them all. And the airplane is slowly going to come together now. And of course, it still requires final paint trim and that, but this is not really detrimental to it because the airplane has to be totally paper masked off to protect the areas I don't want to get trim paint. Anyways, I just thought I would show you that. This is a handy little tool for getting these clevises on. Matter of fact, it's made by Sullivan. It's called a clevis tool, and it allows you to do all kinds of different things to a clevis, and I find it particularly handy taking them on and off. Okay, time to do other things. Now, I was going to color paint these gray as well. Knowing me, I still might do it because the aileron push rods, I went ahead with the aileron push rods, and I totally painted everything on the wing is the same color. So I was kind of contemplating maybe still to do that with this hardware here. It was an afterthought. I wasn't thinking of it at the time because these were fully recessed in the fuselage, so it kind of escaped me at the time. Anyways, I'll see what I'll do with that. And of course, here we have the rudder cables, and I still have to put the rudder horns on. So here we have the rudder horn, which will be bolted in through here. Anyways, that's the stage I'm at here right now. So now I'm installing the rudder horns, and there's two of them, obviously, and they go like this, and I have bolts that run right through. Now, I did mention that, you could make these little hand drill things yourself, or you can get yourself one of these tools. You can get them, online, a lot of places. And I use this particularly when I'm working with really, really small drill bits. It's interchangeable. There's different collars in here. It just so happens the size I want it. For this particular case, I didn't have one of these made up, or I lost it somewhere. I just want to mention that when you go to, for example, clean these out, I never go right through. Okay, so what I do is on the other side of this hole, I put my finger and I take this and I start cleaning it out. As soon as I detect the point of the drill bit, there it is there, I stop. Then I go to the other side and do the same thing, all right? Because it doesn't happen very often, particularly when you have epoxy finishes. However, though, if you just go right through from one side, as you come through, there's a risk of damaging the surface. Either the paint will chip off, or sometimes even the wood will separate. So, particularly like I mentioned before, when you're with a model that has final paint surface, you want to be extra careful in everything you do from then on, not to in any way harm the surface. So like I said, drill in one side. As soon as you feel the point, switch over to the other side and do the same thing. and you'll never have that drastic problem of it chipping away or something, and now you got a problem with the finish. So everything is connected within the entire tail section of the airplane, the tail wheel, the rudder cables, and both elevator push rods. And there'll be maybe a little bit of fine tuning with the linkages once I get the servos connected to everything. I thought I would just share this little tidbit I find very useful. Particularly, I'll have more times than not more than one airplane project on the go. And as you're doing various assemblies like the bolts for the tail wheel, you build it during the process, but then 3 months later or a couple of weeks later, whatever, when it's time to do the final assembly, if you've got all these little bits and pieces kind of lying around on various tables and benches, first of all, to find everything you need to put the airplane back together, or using the right hardware, what I do is I get these little plastic containers. They're very inexpensive. I get them like at the dollar store. So during various phases of projects, when I'm doing something, I take those components and just take some masking tape and quickly write on what it's for. Extremely handy. Like, for example, these are the bolts with the washers for the cockpit. And, like this, for example, these bolts are for the motor mounts. So when it's time to do the final assembly, however long it takes when you get there, it's very easy to do. When you're mounting the engine on, you just simply look through here and say, oh, there's the bolts for the motor mount. So I just thought I'd share that. I mean, even if you only have one project on the go, this is really streamlines the whole project when it's time to do the final assembly. So now this is the servo installation. There's the extra receiver, and everything has been completed for the servo installation. Everything's been tested and adjusted, and as a result of that, the whole tail wheel assembly has been adjusted. Everything is centered properly, and we're basically good to go with this phase of assembly. So we can see that the sweet and low is starting to come together. We're entering now the final stages of assembly. In this video now we saw how all the flight controls are hooked up and they're set up, the servo installation and the aileron servos. And the next video that will be coming out soon is going to be on the engine installation and the fuel system and the rest of the electronics and the cowling and so forth. And there's also episode number 19, which is soon to be released. And that is how all the trim work was applied to the airplane, because this is all epoxy painted on. And so if you'd like to see how that's done, be sure to watch episode 19. If you have any questions or comments, I always welcome them. If you like the video, please select like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon.